Hi, Congresswoman Crockett. How are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. And thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time. We know you are super duper busy. And so we just thank you for these moments that you're able to share with us. First and foremost, I want to say congratulations on your Senate run, and just jump right in. So, what inspired your decision to seek this seat? And why do you believe this moment calls for your leadership?
The refrain that continues to ring in my head is the fierce urgency of now. As I traveled various parts of the state this weekend, I talked about the fact that it's only in times like this that we see what real leadership is made of. And so I've explained to people that I feel confident that I would have been able to figure out a way to get back to the United States House
Yeah.
if that is what I decided to do. But this moment calls for more. If you say that you are doing this work because you want to effectuate change, every single problem that I feel like we have is somehow tied specifically to the Senate, whether it's the redistricting scheme that is going on. It was the Senate that failed to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act because the House passed it. If we look at the Freedom to Vote Act, which would have prevented Elon Musk from buying the election, it passed the House, but then the Senate failed to pass it. If we look at the Supreme Court that has decided to grant immunity to this particular president, it was this Supreme Court, which they could only get onto the Supreme Court because of the Senate. So everything that I feel like we are losing is a result somehow of inaction that has taken place in the Senate. If I was living in a state where we had a blue senator, I would not be running. But right now, we need to change the math if we are going to save our democracy that is hanging by a thread. And so when I looked at it, I was the best positioned Democrat to be able to take on this task. And so I'm ready for it. And we're going to win this thing.
Absolutely. Thank you. And if elected, you would be the first Black woman to serve as Senator of Texas, as U.S. Senator of Texas. What does this historic moment mean to you and the state? And if I could also add this piece, you've said Texas is tough. That's a line that you've been repeating quite a bit. Can you just kind of, in your answer, unpack that too?
Yeah, so listen, there is history that would be made, but I do want to be clear that I am running just because I'm uniquely situated to save our democracy. And I think that it is only fitting that a state that actually has so much positive history would be in a position to do it again. Most people don't realize that Roe v. Wade came out of the state of Texas.
Yes.
When you think of something like the Voting Rights Act that we were just talking about, or the Civil Rights Act, they were both signed into law because a Texan that served as president, LBJ, signed them into law. And so honestly, it is somewhat serendipitous that it would be this way, because this is the state that actually was looking out and protecting women throughout this country. This is also the state that was leading the way as it relates to civil rights and voting rights. And then to have a civil rights lawyer that's a woman,
Yeah.
a Black woman, be the one that steps in this moment, I think it actually only makes sense. I think that also one of the things that I never thought about when I ran for office was how many young eyes would be on me.
Yes.
I always knew that my constituents and those voters that always show up, our seniors, I knew that they would be paying attention. But never in my wildest dreams that I would believe that we would have little girls of all colors looking and loving on me. I do this thing now where I do these Crockett confessionals from the campaign trail.
Yeah.
And I didn't really sleep this weekend, and that's okay. But I've got
catch
some
up.
stories that I actually want to I want to tell, and they involve little girls. And so it still kind of shocks me when someone who's not even able to vote knows who I am,
Yeah.
and loves me and tells me that I'm their hero. I want them to know that there's nothing that they can't do. And so as we continue to break down barriers, and I think that for some, they say, oh, because it's not happened, it can't happen. But if every Black woman had that attitude, we would never have a Black woman vice president. We never would have had Shirley Chisholm and had any Black women swear into the U.S. House. And I am only the 55th Black woman to ever swear into the U.S. House. But it was easier for me because there was somebody that came before me. And it's the same way when it comes to the Senate. Now, there's nothing easy about it, but I can tell you that my obstacles don't look like they would have looked like, because right now we don't have just one Black woman serving in the Senate. We have two. And so it's easier for people to see it and believe in it if it's already taken place. So it's not only that it had already taken place with two other Black women that were elected and one that was appointed, and now we have two that are currently serving. People aren't so like, oh my gosh, a Black woman can't do it, right? And so I do thank those warriors that have come before me that had the audacity to believe that they could do it, so that by the time there was a Jasmine Crockett candidacy for the U.S. Senate, others could point and say, well, there's other Black women that have done it. Why can't she?
Yeah, that gives me chills. I mean, and of course, Higher Heights helped to get those two Black women who are currently serving concurrently in the U.S. Senate into office. So we're really proud of that. But it just always, I never get tired of hearing that. So somewhat in the same vein, how do you see Black women shaping democracy and leadership at this moment?
Yeah, so, everyone always talks about how Black women specifically are the backbone of the Democratic Party. That is what they always say. And so I think that there's always been a little bit of resistance to take us from just kind of doing the work to actually believing that we could lead.
Yeah.
We are continuing to break down barriers. We have the first Black woman nominee from a major party in the presidential, in a Kamala Harris. And so I say that the more that we show up, the more that people understand why it is that we've been so effective at being the backbone of this party. But I do think that it is time for our party to be unified in some ways. Right now, the fight should not be from within. We have consistently allowed ourselves to be divided and to be distracted. Right now, I can tell you, regardless as to whether or not you agree wholly with any Democrat that is on the ballot for some race, that Democrat is going to do a lot more for you than that Republican. Right now, we don't know what's happening with our democracy. Right now, we know that we should not feel super secure in this country because we have people that are incompetent, that are running our armed forces, and we also have the unlawful, unconstitutional wars that have been declared. It's hard for me to say that it's a war declaration because that comes from us in the Congress, and that's not taking place. And so, we have people that are being disappeared on our streets. We have state-sanctioned killings, something that the Black community has been having issues with for a very long time in this country. And so, I look at it and I say, is race going to be the thing that keeps you from making sure that your child has a better future? Is gender going to be the thing that keeps you from having the ability to actually keep a roof over your head? And so, what I really want to encourage those on my side of the aisle to do is to be unified. I consistently said this weekend that divided we fall, united we stand, and that is true.
Yeah.
And they know that, and they have played on us on that, and we are all losing. And so I think that if we can stay unified, we'll get all things done across the country. And thus far, I've been really impressed with the numbers that I've seen in a number of these elections that have taken place since this administration has been sworn in.
Yeah, and also just continuing on with that thought, right? You mentioned some of the super dismal things that are happening right now in our country. What is your message to voters who may be disillusioned or disengaged right now, especially Black women? As you mentioned, we've carried democracy time and time again. So as we look at this landscape, as we look at what's happening, how do you plan to speak to those people?
Yeah, so I don't think that you can just kind of wake up, have a campaign, and start speaking to those people.
Yeah.
Now, we've seen it happen. I would argue that Mondami did that quite effectively. Early polling showed him down, but he was not deterred. He knew that he could offer something different, and so he went straight to the people. That is how we have always run our campaigns. From my very first campaign through even obviously my most recent campaign. And so what I'll say is that we are going to meet people where they are. A lot of times there's kind of like, there's the political elites and then there's the rest of us. But the reality is that there are a lot of people that say, I don't do politics. And as my good soror, Tony Rose, says all the time, but politics will do you.
Yes.
And so I think it is important that we communicate to people and really start to engage them by just asking, how are you doing? We've got to start reconnected on a very granular level. How are you doing? And when people start to talk to you and tell you that childcare is unaffordable, food is unaffordable, housing is unaffordable, can't find a job, as they start to go through the list of things that are going wrong, then you connect the dots for them. You say, you know what? I feel you. Like, are you a voter? I would encourage you to look at this candidate or that candidate. I think that that's something that we have to do. I think I'm a unique candidate in a lot of ways. A lot of times we see these campaigns take place no matter what level we're talking about. And usually if there's any integration of culture, it kind of comes at the end and it's kind of just thrown in there. It's not necessarily a natural fit per se. I think that I've consistently been a cultural kind of crossover. It was nothing for you to see me on the Shade Room, nothing for me to be on Jason Lee's show, nothing for you to see me on The Breakfast Club, while also being able to see me on The View or Kimmel or Colbert, right? Like, so I've kind of been this person that's been in all these different spaces that aren't necessarily the traditional spaces, while also occupying the MS Nows and the CNNs of the world as well. And so due to a number of the friendships and relationships that I've been able to kind of build within Hollywood and elsewhere, we are going to continue to kind of blend the two, because it matters that I communicate with people that aren't necessarily zoned in on the political news.
Exactly.
And I think that that's how we're going to be able to reach them. And then we're just going to go directly to them. So here it is this weekend. I'll be on stage with Tyrese at his concert that's going to take place actually in my current congressional district. I hit him up. I was like, hey, you know, just give your girl a shout out, put a video up, do something, because I need the people to know. And he's like, no, you got to get on stage.
Come on stage.
Yeah, he's like, you got to be there. We going live. I'm telling everybody to take out their phones. We're going to surprise them, you know, all these things or whatever. But you're going to see that I went and we had our state championship games for our high school football teams, and 3 of the teams in the largest 3 divisions, they all came from my district.
Yeah.
So I was on the field. So
Yeah,
I was on the Jumbotron.
that,
We had 200,000 people that showed up for our high school football game. So I think it's about, and I didn't look awkward, right? Like I looked like I knew how to be at a football game, right? So I think that there is that. And then at the same time, I can walk into Black church and do that as well as a PK. But, you know, I think most of us can walk into Black church and understand that. Yeah. And so I think being able to communicate with all communities, including those that are in rural Texas, because as soon as I graduated law school, I went off to East Texas. That's actually where I got started in politics. And my first term in the House, it was Secretary Fudge that told me that I need to go ahead and go to the Ag Committee. Now, I try not to ask her many questions when she tells me to do things, but I didn't really kind of see the link. But, you know, she told me to do it. I did it. I learned so much. But I also started building relationships with those Texas farmers and ranchers. And so these are people that are like, we actually know how she is. We actually know how she thinks.
Yeah.
We actually aren't, like, thrown off by her, in addition to the fact that I've tried cases in both rural Texas and urban Texas, as well as rural and urban Arkansas. So I understand how to communicate with people from all walks of life and truly meet them where they are.
And that really is a very, very beautiful thing, very unique thing. I want to go back to Tyrese. I want to see a duet happen, Congress.
You know, my team
I gotta see it on my feed.
Was wondering. My team is asked, and I'm like, I don't know that I'm gonna actually be singing like that. But I went to, so we did 6, 7, I don't know how many churches I did on Sunday in San Antonio. And so actually one of them I did sing in. So they were like, what? I was like, yeah, you know, every once in a while I break out in song.
Hey, so, listen, it's necessary. Well, I know we're close to time, Congresswoman, but I would love to just hear just 2 quick things. like your top two, like lightning round, like your top two things that are just the most pressing things that you're hearing from Texans right now. And then I want to end on a fun note with what your hype song is. So if you can just lightning round on those things, then we'll close out here.
Yeah, so affordability, number one, kind of across the board. Healthcare kind of ties into that. So I'll say affordability / healthcare, as well as I would say immigration / our foreign affairs / trade is kind of what I would say. Hype song, it just kind of depends. Motivation is one of them. Haters get on your job. I use that one a lot. So when the haters are coming, I'm like, yeah, haters get on your job. Motivation, right?
Yeah.
Your hate is fuel to my fire. So yes, that is one that I put on quite often. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Congresswoman Crockett. Really appreciate your time, like I said at the top of this conversation. And I know, we'll be hearing much more from you as the days progress, and looking forward to seeing you and Tyrese do a duet on my feed. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Higher Heights. I love and appreciate you. Let's go out. Let's make history yet once again in this country, and let's save this country from the trajectory that it is on.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.